Okay, welcome all artisans, apprentices, and all who are interested in the philosophy. This lesson will fall under the category of design and technology. And as you know, each month we have 4 categories of interest: history and tradition, basic skills training, design and technology, and career planning. So this will fall under our design and technology segment. And the purpose of this is to just give a taste for the basics of SketchUp. And one thing I just want to stress is that we're talking about tools to use for planning. Our goal is to plan and to design our projects well in advance of when they are scheduled to be started. So this is about learning the philosophy of planning, not a particular tool, because this will be a very basic tutorial for SketchUp. It's just to get your interest in any particular CAD program and to understand how CAD can help you in your efficiency. And a word to efficiency: if your tool is a pen and paper, and there have been many times when I have been sitting with this very computer on the job and my framer come to me and ask me a question, and in a moment of, oh yeah, just give me a block of wood and a pencil and I'll draw out the detail, and that'll be that. And that was the proper tool for that moment. The CAD tool is proper for prior planning and efficient planning before the job starts. Sometimes when you're on the job, the best tool is the one that gets it done quickly and efficiently. So just a word about the philosophy behind our tools. So what we're looking at here is SketchUp Pro. You can see up here. And what we will be talking about today is a SketchUp for the web. And the reason I'm using that version is because it is free. And I do not want to start promoting, expensive tools. At some point, when you're a professional and you want to decide how to spend your money, then you can decide the level of tool for each job you want to buy or purchase. And at this point, I'm going to make it easy for people to get into the world of CAD if you haven't gotten into it. And what you will find is a lot of the tools are similar among different CAD programs. So I think once we get into this, you'll see. So what I'm going to do is take you to the web. I'm going to search SketchUp for the web, and I'll leave a link in the description. You'll see it's the first one that comes up. You'll come up to this screen, and down here at the bottom you will click on Start Modeling. I guess we have to accept cookies. Now you'll have to have a Google account, a Gmail account, to log in. I've already apparently logged in, or it's going to ask me to. But if you don't, you'll see that screen, and then you would go to this screen next. And if you don't like Gmail, you can just create a temporary Gmail account just to be able to log in. So you'll come to this screen, and let's click on Start Modeling. You'll notice if you use your mouse wheel, if you have one, it will scroll in and out. That's just kind of the first basic thing you'll notice. But the other thing I've noticed is the most handy tool to get around inside SketchUp is just this tool on the very bottom called the orbit. And you'll notice that these buttons fly out here. But if you just leave it on that orbit, you can rotate the drawing around, zoom in and out. And I use that to just basically navigate through the drawing. So like if you're like me and you just want to start drawing, here is the line tool right here. So let's just grab it. It's a 1, 2, 3, 4 down from the top. And let's just draw a rectangle. Let's draw a 12-foot line. So what I did was I just clicked at the starting point, and before I clicked again, and if you'll notice in my bottom right hand corner, there was a length measurement. I'll do it again. I click to start the line. I'm not doing anything with the mouse at this point. I've come to the keyboard. I'm going to type 12 feet and hit enter, and that will actually finish the command. And you'll notice that I'm on these green and red axis, and it's very important that when you are drawing that you be aware of what axis that you are on. I'm going to take the eraser tool, which is this second tool. I'm going to erase the first line, the third line. So the idea behind these axes are, that's the red axis, and that is the green axis, and the blue line is the vertical or Z axis. Okay. So let's just keep going with some basic stuff here. Let's go along the red axis 12 feet. So you'll click at that starting point, and you'll notice that SketchUp is very intuitive. It will select that end of that line. I'm going to start my mouse along the red axis. Then I'm going to come over to the keyboard before I click again, and I'm going to type 12 feet. Now, we're just going to complete this box. So now look, what color axis am I on? I'm on the blue axis, right? So if I type in 12 feet at this point, which direction am I going? And this is where you kind of get used to drawing in 3D. I was on the vertical axis. And sometimes you can lose your bearings in a 3D drawing. Sometimes it's good, you will see, to get in a perspective where you're drawing easily on the plane that you want to be on. So I'm going to click here, I'm going to go out, I'm going to type 12 feet again, 12 feet. Now that puts me exactly in line with that point, but I want to show you something about SketchUp, how intuitive it is. If I click on this and I hold down the shift key, you see I'm on the green axis. That's the axis I want to be on. I'm going to hold down the shift key, and that's going to lock the axis. You see, no matter where I put my pencil now, it's going to stay on the green. Now I'm going to go over here and reference that point. And that's just a quick way to get that line to the same length as that line, and now I can just close it. And you'll always know that you have a closed lines when you get a face. When you close an area, SketchUp automatically creates a face. And one other clue about SketchUp is that you can click on that, and sometimes you have to reverse that face. The lighter face is generally going to be the front face, and the darker face is going to be the back. Sometimes you have to check those faces. Now, this could be the front. If we were making a cube, and I'll show you why, using the next tool, intuitively that I want to use is the push-pull tool. You'll see here, it's a little square with an arrow pointing up. So you can take that tool and click on the face and start pulling up. Okay, now I'm not going to click again. I'm going to type in 12 feet. Let's try that again. 12 feet. There we go. So that's user error. So the most accurate way sometimes to do your measurements is just to enter them down here in the bottom right hand corner. sometimes you will have something to reference. In other words, let's go back. Let's undo that. And I'm going to draw myself a little cube out here. We'll talk about this rectangle tool in a minute. Let's say that this object is already here. The other thing you can do, and this goes back to the intuitiveness of SketchUp, is once you start pulling up, if you hold your, well, I mean, and this goes back to that perspective thing. Let me get to where I can see both. Let's say you have an object that's already a given height and you don't want to have to figure out what height that is. You just want to reference it. You'll take your push-pull tool, you'll click and hold the button down, and then you just go over, and when you find the face or the point, you just let off the mouse button. Okay? But we're doing a cube, so let's do 12 feet. 12 feet. There we go. And then we're going to delete this stuff. Now, those are the basic tools. We've used the select tool, the eraser. Here is the paint tool. What will happen when you click on the paint tool is you will have different colors or materials come up. You're going to have materials that are already in your model here, and since you're on the web, you can browse for materials by clicking there. Now, this paint tool, again, perspective here, let's get to where we can see at least 3 sides, and go back and click on our paint tool again. In this mode, you can paint separate faces. But if I undo that with the Control-Z key and I go back and I double click on a face, double clicking on it is supposed to select all the faces that are connected, and then you can apply that to all those faces. Now, another way to do that is if you create a group, if you want to select all of your objects that you want to make a group out of, you would right mouse click and make a group. Okay. Now, once that's a group, you can take that same surface material, and apply it to the group, and it'll all be applied at the same time. So that's just different ways to apply. I'm going to undo that because I like the basic cube. Okay, our arc. Let's see if this is the tool. Yeah, this tool actually comes in handy when you're working in 2-dimensional drawings and you want to draw a door. Okay, so let's say we're going to come up, let's come out 36 inches for an exterior door. Now we're going to come over here to our line. You see we just drew an arc for a door swing, and that would be a really quick way in a 2-dimensional drawing. Now what I would recommend is making a group out of that, because when you make a group, it doesn't stick to, first of all, let's explode that group, okay? And I'll just demonstrate this. Let's see, I'm going to move this. Where's my move tool? There it is. Which brings us to our next tool, move. So I'm going to select it with the selector tool up here, and I want to move it with the move tool right here, the little cross arrow. Click on that, and I'm going to move it. You can see it's not affecting those faces or objects. But if I explode it, you could take the push-pull tool and move that shape if you were trying to create that shape off of that shape. So it's sort of relative to what you want to do with that part of the drawing, whether you want it to be a part of that or not. The rectangle tool is an easy tool to use and a handy tool. I use it a lot. Let's back out over here. Instead of doing all of this that we did with lines, individual lines, we can create a rectangle. And you'll notice I clicked, I'll start over. I'm going to click on one spot and I'm just going to drag my mouse. I'm not holding my mouse button down, I'm just moving my mouse around. And I'm not going to click again because I'm going to enter down here in the bottom right hand corner 12 feet, comma, 12 feet. And that draws our box. Or you can draw a rectangle or whatever. Then you can grab your push-pull tool and reference that point, and bam, you've got two blocks, 2 cubes. We've used the move tool, and now we're going to use the tape measure tool, which is most commonly used as a construction line tool. So if you come over here, let's say, and this is a good time to build a little roof, even though it's going to be a cartoon looking roof, it will still be a roof. So let's say we wanted to find the center of this block, and we took our tape measure tool. You'll see it's creating this little dashed line, right? I can come over here and reference the center, which is 6 feet, and now I've got a construction line, okay? And that construction line is like, it's sort of a concept in CAD. It just goes for infinity. You can also just measure things. Like if I pulled it all the way across here, you can see it says 12 feet. Just for the fun of it, we're going to draw ourselves a roof. And we'll even do some simple rafter figuring here. Let's do that. Let's say 412, which is a very common pitch with standard homes. That means for every 12 inches, we'll do it down here on the ground. For every 12 inches, and I'm drawing a 12-inch line, 12. And I'm going to zoom in a little bit. That means for every 12 inches, I rise 4 inches. So I'm on the blue axis now, and I'm coming up 4. Okay? And then if I just connect that, that's my little triangle. That's my little 412 triangle. Okay? And usually what I'll do when I start doing rafters on a house, if I want to draw them individually, is I'll come down here to the corner and I'll draw myself a 12-inch line. And you'll just have to kind of find the end of it with the, where did it go? Oh, is it that long? Yeah, I didn't realize I was zoomed in that close. And then I'll come up, again, I'm on that blue axis, that's the vertical axis, 4 inches. And then I'll just draw this line down here. And then I'll actually go back and take my eraser tool and delete that one. So that's kind of the start of my rafter. Although what I would have done if I was drawing a rafter is I would have probably come up 4 inches or so first to represent my bird's mouth. But I don't want to get too technical right now. We're just talking about drawing tools and SketchUp and its intuitiveness, because what I'm going to show you next is how intuitive SketchUp is. Let's just say, for the fun of it, I'm going to draw myself a vertical line here. And another thing to think about when we're talking about roof pitches is that you can kind of go through this exercise in your mind. I know that 6 feet is my run, is the span of my rafter. And so if I have a 412 pitch, that means I'm going to have 4 times 6. 4 inches times 6 is 6 feet is 24, right? So if I draw myself a 24-inch line, that would be the center, that would be the height of my roof, okay? Not really, because it would be, we're not drawing the entire rafter. So, but I wanted to show you something intuitive about SketchUp. So you'll notice that when I clicked on the end of this line, which was our pitch line, our theoretical rafter line, that And I just started drawing. You can see that magenta line. It's going to continue the angle of that line, this line, just intuitively, okay? Obviously, you can change it if you want to. If you want to go vertical, that's the blue axis. Horizontal would be the green axis. But I'm going to choose to extend it. Now, if I don't know where I'm going to end that, like if I don't know a measurement to enter, I'm going to hold down the shift key. It's going to lock that axis. We're going to go up here. Now, I know something is wrong here, and you're saying to yourself, what is that, ArtisanTony? Well, when I made this 12-inch line, apparently, yeah, I was in the wrong spot. So this will show that double checking your drawing is a good idea, because if you notice, I drew this line at 24 inches, and when I started to extend this line, it came up higher than that. So at some point, I screwed up down here. So I'm going to take this, I'm going to delete these two lines, and this time I'm going to draw myself a reference at 12 inches, and that way I won't make that same mistake twice. So I'm going to come over 12 inches, and then I will know exactly where to go up 4 inches for it. And I can already tell that that's going to be more successful. So now I'm just going to run this on out, and you will see now it meets up. So it's always good to double check yourself, and the way you can double check yourself is to go through the math exercise in your head, just like I did. When I drew this vertical line, I knew that my span for my rafter was 6 feet, which is half of the run, which is 12 feet. And so I knew it was going to be 24 inches tall, and I drew that line 24 inches tall. Well, when I started to connect these two lines, I was shown very quickly that I had made a mistake. And that happens pretty often in CAD work. But that's why you want to double check your work. So what I'm going to do now is just take this and connect that, and I'm going to delete this middle line, and we're going to use our push-pull tool to drag our roof all the way across. Okay, just like that. Now this, like I said before, it's very cartoony looking roof, and you can actually delete this line now if you want to. So there you go. Those are the basic tools. Let's close that up, and we will take this and we will select all that, and we will delete it. I'll delete this. We'll clean up our drawing. We want to stay neat and clean. And there you go. Now, if you're interested, we'll do some more stuff in here. But for the purposes of this lesson was just to introduce you to SketchUp on the web. And one last thing before we go is you can save your work, and make sure you do save it, because you will be submitting it for this lesson. Up here, you can click save, and it will take you to a list of your projects that you've saved. You can save your work, and you'll want to do that, and you can save it online, and you're actually using SketchUp's servers to do that, so you're not using your own hard drive space. Really quickly, the most interesting button over here is the fourth one down. It's the little stack of cubes. This is where you can actually search 3D Warehouse. Let's search tiny house. That was always fun. And you can see that other people's projects have been uploaded, and you can insert them into your drawing. Just double click somewhere, and it'll be placed there. I probably should have done that with a little more care, but you can move it around like that, and go down here and orbit. Get your orbit tool, move around, and explode it, and then you can edit this and you can kind of see what other people have done and the possibilities that you can get into. And if you find something you like, you can just make your own edits, and you're, again, a very efficient use of your time and the tool. Okay, well, that'll end this quick lesson. Just wanted to do a really quick tutorial on the basic tools of SketchUp for the web. And make sure you check out Artisan School of Construction for the other classes in our apprenticeship path. And I appreciate our apprentices and our students and our supporters. And we'll see you next time.